Welcome to the Tim Kulik Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulik, and today I have two guests, Tom Seymour and James Richardson. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us. Cool. All right, got that out of the way. Yeah, cars, man. I'm not going to buy a new car, I don't think. I think I'm done with new cars.
Especially with them tariffs coming. Especially with those tariffs coming.
You know what I just put a deposit on?
What?
The new Amazon truck. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
It's like a $20,000 electric truck.
Yeah.
Really?
Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It has no radio. It has no screen in it like a Tesla. It's like bare bones, right? But you can add all these things on. And even adding those things on, it's not ridiculous. But I think they're estimating the base charge is like in the 150 to 200 range, and then if you get the extended, it kind of doubles that, so it'd be closer to 300. But if you don't go anywhere, and it's just a plug-in at your house, that's dirt cheap, you know?
Yeah, it's just that I live in a New York City apartment. We don't have no plug-ins around here. There's one up the street from me in the Bronx, and there's one for the entire friggin' area. So it's always just people lined up for that spot.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect for suburbia, you know? Yeah.
If
it was a hybrid, I'd consider it. I can deal with a hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah, what's neat about it is it looks like, those old Ford Rangers, they're small, quarter-ton pickups, for something changed, in the 90s or 2000s, where they had to make them bigger, because you look at a Ford Ranger now, it's like what an F-150 was in the 80s, right, size-wise.
They're gigantic,
but
yeah.
You can't make a truck that size and have it be a four-cylinder. It's some weird Detroit thing. I don't know.
I've been looking at buying it, with the retirement, talking about the retirement thing again. I've been looking at truck campers, and I've been thinking about getting one and tossing it on the back of a truck, something that it's four-wheel drive. I can go pretty much anywhere. They're not crazy expensive, and I like the truck campers because as your car or your truck gets older, you just swap it out.
Right.
You just put the camper, because I was into that whole van life thing for a while, and
I was following that. I
really want a van.
They're going to start producing more vans. There's going to be a comeback with that. I don't know why, but there's going to be multiple companies creating vans and possibly minivans again,
Really?
It's funny, minivans dwindled down to just a few companies. It's like Toyota, and actually the only vehicle Chrysler makes now is a minivan.
Get out of here.
I think it's the Pacifica. Really? Yeah, I think that's what it is, yeah. They stopped remember the Chrysler 300, nice big car?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all gone. They just make this minivan. Really nice Chrysler
What happened
minivan.
to Lee Iacocca's business, man? What happened to it?
I don't know. Yeah.
That was Lee Iacocca, right? Chrysler?
I always liked that
maybe.
name. Iacocca.
Lee Iacocca.
I think I just wanted to say it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole vehicle scene is a real mess. I was looking at, pickups, and you know what's surprisingly not crazy is a Chevy Colorado is actually not insane. And it's a kind of a real pickup. It's not a full, I don't think it's a full 1 ton
It's
or
not
whatever.
a full size, not a full ton. The ones I was looking at was the Toyotas, just because the engines are mad reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Colorado is nice,
I think you can get it for 35, which is really, because I mean those little Ford Mavericks, which are not really pickups, those are they're kind of like El Caminos,
Right.
Those are 30 now, high 20s.
I'm showing your age with the El Camino.
Oh, yeah. Well, Hyundai makes a Santa Cruz. That's a similar sized one.
Yeah,
I think
those
the
are
base,
nice.
stripped is 25. It's in that range, but they're all creeping up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they really, and it's gonna, like you were saying with the tariffs, it's gonna get weird. So we'll have to see what. It's just at a time where no one can afford anything, really. It's just
a bare cargo van is running for close to 40 at this point. You know what I mean? Just stripped down, nothing in it, and I'm just I can't justify that.
It's a chassis and a freaking box, right? It's for 40 grand. Come on.
Then you got to build out the interior, which is probably another good 20. And I'm just I'm not spending 60 on just a basic cargo van.
Yeah.
That's why I've been looking at a bunch of used stuff, but the used market is just through the roof too. So
Yeah.
it's not even.
What about talk about Orlando and like the I-4 corridor? What about an RV, like a used RV? You given any
I've been looking.
consideration?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I've been looking at. There's a company called Cruise America that sells like used RVs, and I was looking at a Class C, but the smallest Class C that they have is 19 feet, which
Okay.
is about the same size as kind of like the Amazon trucks that you see delivering
Yeah.
packages.
Yeah,
Well, I've seen
yeah.
Winnebago Man. So, remember Winnebago Man? The
Yeah.
Class C.
Yeah.
Class C motorhome. There's
I was
flies.
thinking about getting a Class C, getting it lifted because I'm black. Get some real cool rims and shit on it.
Yeah.
You know, get it lifted, and you know, you can pick up one of those for like low 30s, 40s, and has
Okay.
bathroom. It's full size, so I'm 6'2", so it's big enough for me to stand up in without crouching over it. That was the other thing.
Right.
You could also
And-
paint the thing too, so it's like more contemporary looking, right?
Right.
Because is it still that Winnebago color? It's like that tan,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Wood grain finish. You know?
brown and
Yeah,
the tan.
and just everything
yeah.
inside is wood grain. But you know, you take the doors off, you paint the doors.
Yeah.
You make little modifications, which is, you know, a couple of extra grand.
Yeah.
Like I want to remove the black tank because I don't want like to deal with like dumping wastewater, you know. So because that costs also, you know, because
Right.
like, you know, if we have Social Security in a few years, I might be, you know, or if we don't, I might have to live out of it. That's the way I'm kind of looking at stuff. Pull up to your house down in Tampa. Tim, can I park in your driveway and take a shower?
You know, the cassette toilets, they seem like a good idea, but then the idea of like wheeling around a suitcase with shit in it, and then
All right, you got to
then
explain yourself. What
dumping-
the hell is a cassette toilet?
a cassette toilet is like it's a toilet, but it's not connected to anything. So in the base, it's got, I think, chemicals, and when you flush, it'll seal it out. So it's kind of like a really advanced litter box, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
so, but when you fill it up, there's a big cartridge with a handle on it and wheels, and then you wheel it to like a truck stop,
regular
bathroom.
toilet.
A regular
Yeah,
toilet,
regular toilet.
and then you'd
Oh, lovely.
dump it. Yeah, you bring it exclusively to Starbucks, and then you always a Starbucks.
Oh man. Oh, that just feels heinous. I'm like, why do that when like there was something where you could install this thing on the back of a pickup truck's bed, and it's basically a toilet seat. And you just take a dump off the back side of your truck. You know?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Old school.
Yo, I
what-
can't.
How did we get into this?
That's
Holy crap!
Reminds me
Literally.
of the medieval times. Tim and I were talking about this. Like the toilets in medieval times, they build it off a cliff, and people just shit down a hole.
Yeah. Dude, even worse, like, they had the commode in the bedroom, this long thing going down into the moat, right? And then some lunatic would climb up that thing to, like, raid the place. So he's climbing up this freaking column, shit-filled column,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my, no wonder why there was the Black Plague in
Yeah.
Europe. My God, you're just climbing around people's freaking waist and
I cannot
rats.
watch any period piece now. Anything, you know, before 1940 and not think like, Jesus Christ, these people must have smelled like
Yeah.
just horribly. Like the old westerns, like, and I'm watching like Rifleman with Chuck Connors, and like they're washing up in like the little, you know, basin right by the thing, and I'm just like, y'all were working in the field all day. You must smell horrible.
Yeah, you want to hear something crazy? So they used to, in the Wild West, they used to wipe their ass with their hands. And so there's a term when you shake someone's hand, shake the dirt off. They're talking about making sure you wipe the shit off your hand before you shake someone's hand. That's what they mean, shake the dirt off.
Man, we were tempered in raw shit. George Carlin was not wrong when he said that. That is insane.
That's disgusting.
And we go, oh, I got a bug in my salad. Like, what?
What?
People used to shake hands with shit. Amazing.
I'm so glad I'm living in these times.
Me too.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's pretty insane.
So we're rounding a corner, Tom. You want to talk about that?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I wanted to have James on because it basically...
I owe him money.
No, basically to say, James and I have been working together for about 10 years on these documentaries. And Tim and I...
on the documentaries, we've been working together a lot longer than that
actually,
now.
I'm sorry. Professionally, we've been working together for over 15 years.
15? Yeah.
Yeah. At CUNY.
Yeah, it's been that long already? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and really probably like 11 years on the docs, But yeah, it's been a long time. And then Timmy K and I were 32 years or something,
Something crazy like that, yeah.
But I managed to... We have this morning, I published the trailer to Video Dreams. And so, just want to thank you, James, for being part of it and being part of the docs all these years. And thank you to Mr. Tim Coolig for providing some producing and narration and watching 1,000 cuts.
Well, probably not that many, but,
It's been fun. I mean, I didn't really do anything. You talked to me a couple of times, but I've always been very happy that you've included me in a mild piece in the success that your documentaries have garnered. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you're a fan favorite, I will say, on social media. People will often take the excerpt of you shitting on Blockbuster.
Yeah, I hate Blockbuster. Fucking hate them.
But in Video Dreams, we actually go into depth on why you hate Blockbuster. There's a clip of you slightly truncated.
You sent me a rough cut of it. I've watched like half of it. I apologize. I haven't finished it. I didn't realize that you and Tim have known each other that long. Like, a long time.
Yeah, actually, I knew Bruce first,
Yeah.
because Bruce and I were in the same grade.
That's his brother.
My brother's 2 years older, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Bruce and I met in middle school. We actually knew each other probably a little bit earlier than that, through some mutual acquaintance, but we didn't hang out. Like, I wasn't old enough to take my bike all the way over there and hang out or whatever. And then he was in high school. Did he go to Plainville for a little bit and then go to St. Paul's? I forget.
Yeah, I think so. Well, he certainly went to middle school. Yeah, I don't think he actually went to Plainville High, but he went to Plainville Middle School and then went over to St. Paul. Dan, I think, maybe did a year at Plainville High and then went over to St. Paul.
I think it's Mitch's fault that I maintained that connection, because I would hang out with Mitch and he'd bring Bruce along for some of the stuff, and it's because they lived in proximity and they went to grade school together and everything, and they were friends from that. So, but yeah. Then I would show up at the house that was a freshman year of college. Bruce and I were commuting to UConn in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I'd come back from going to school, and there's Tom on the roof filming some crazy shit, and I'm like, hey, you need an extra actor? Or you want somebody else to, carry a boom mic around or something like that? And just the rest is history, man. I
was cracking up watching the rough cut, because it's like looking at two babies. Like, I've known you guys as adults, and you look at it and it's the same person, but Jesus Christ, it's a different person. It's
It's weird, right? Yeah.
I can't remember 3/4 of the I see that and I'm like, I have no memory other than that's me. I'm sure I said those things, but I have no working memory. I can't go in my head and be like, oh, I remember that day. Not at all.
I showed
that's age. That's just age, you know.
Yeah.
I showed Mike Aransky the cut, and he was like, man, he goes, I really didn't appreciate my hair when I was young, because you see Mike's hair is super thick, It's I'm thinning. No, I mean, I look at my hair, I'm like, damn, my hair is thick. I don't know, it's weird. It's I can't believe that was me, It's really
I used to have a
voice,
flat
too.
top.
Nice.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, I had a flat top during the Kid and Play days.
Yeah.
Okay.
My kids see
nice.
pictures of me when I was younger, and they just fall out laughing.
That was cool, man. It's still cool.
Yeah.
I don't care. Flat tops are cool.
Yeah.
Nah, it's So it was a weird trip piecing that old footage together, but I think it's gonna. I didn't actually know what I was doing when I started, but it's gonna be weird because it's basically 30 years truncated into 85 minutes. And the other hard thing was then truncating that 85-minute feature into a 1.5-minute trailer.
Yeah.
That was rough. And so I just premiered the trailer. Actually, the trailer I premiered is slightly different than the one I showed you, James. It's even shorter. So
Okay.
you're still
You should
in
see
it.
if you can
Don't
share
worry.
it on here, Tom. I wonder if we can caption on here where, like, at the bottom of the screen, there's
yeah.
a share button. I wonder if you can actually play it and it will capture everything. I don't see why it wouldn't, because I may have to give you permission, but that'd be cool, because then if in your editing process you can add it into the thing and picture premiere it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we could have reactions. You can get reactions from us. Just an aside. I love how the load screen for Splatterhouse is just flashing behind you.
Oh, yeah. I deliberately put that on. I'm like, what's something cool? Give me something hardcore.
Oh, it's awesome.
Let's see. Let's try this. All right. Is that sharing or no?
I didn't see it. No,
I didn't see it.
I didn't see enough. At the bottom of the screen, underneath my face,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a bunch.
It's a Chrome thing. I gotta see. Chrome is being weird.
No,
Google Chrome. Okay, I got it. Give me a second. Wow.
I should
So you
be
got
able to.
Street Fighter in the background too.
Yep. Is that working now?
No,
It's
it's
gonna make me quit and redo Chrome. It'll probably boot me. I can do it.
nah.
Can you do it on your end?
Oh, let's see. Is it on your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can find it.
I think it would do it. If I reboot it, it'll kick me out, so I don't want to do that.
If I write, what's your YouTube channel again? New York City?
VHS Master.
Oh, VHS Massacre trailer. Gonna pause. Oh, okay. You're gonna pause. And let's see if I can share.
To make me sign up for Riverside.
All right. This
It's
is
slick, man.
it's showing it to both of you, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Looks great.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Let's see if it can, if it'll pull up the audio and everything too. You hear it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We did it.
Replan it. Sweet. Here, I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. So that
Boom.
was,
Nice.
I think I started in December of 2023. So it's like a year and a half.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
It don't seem that long.
Yeah.
While we were doing the festival circuit with American Expendables, we started pulling together some ideas.
Yeah. I bought a VCR, started capturing some old stuff. I was trying to pull from high 8 tapes, but every one of my high 8 tapes, excuse me, every one of my high 8 tapes is blank now. It's all. That's what I didn't realize. The smaller tapes, like the physically smaller magnetic
Right.
tapes, they'll demagnetize easier.
Really?
So it's like, yeah. So if you have, they're more fragile. So
I got a ton of those.
Yeah,
I
I
got
mean-
like a box of them with old stuff from High 8, Mini DV. I hope Mini DV is different, but I got a bunch of High
Probably.
8 stuff.
yeah,
Is that those mini discs? The
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the mini disc, the like the smaller
digital tape?
little cartridge-sized tapes.
Oh,
They're
okay.
real tiny.
Yeah, it might be okay. The other thing too is, bizarrely enough, not every high 8 camcorder, like a Sony high 8 camcorder, may not do a good job of playing back like a Panasonic high 8 tape.
Oh, they had
it's-
like a unique encoding or something?
It's not that, I don't think they meant it to be unique, but it just like, I've read somewhere dealing with old tapes, like it's actually better to try to find the actual camcorder you recorded on for some reason. You know, who
I bought
knows?
a JVC to transfer some of my old High 8 stuff because I got some stuff from when the kids were like, infants that I didn't want to lose. And then I realized like all my old High 8 VCRs and tapes and stuff like that were gone. So I bought one off of Amazon. I think I paid like almost $300, which was outrageous for stuff that is that old. But it was cool. It played back the stuff. I transferred it to digitized it fully. So I still kept that stuff. I got some old stuff with my father, my father's been dead probably like 40, 50, almost 50 years.
Wow.
And then I want to basically transfer it because I transferred it to High 8 from Super 8 to High 8. And now I'm just like, I got to make sure that I don't lose any of that old footage.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to freak you out or anything, but I mean, it's like if you can back it up because
Yeah.
one day I have not had that happen with a single VHS tape. there's not a single VHS tape that I put in that is not played back relatively well. I mean, depending on what it was.
Yeah.
But the smaller formats apparently are more delicate. So.
Yeah, that's nuts to think about. I mean, I knew there was a whole series of movies that they scrambled to digitize because, like the Star Wars, the original Star Wars they were gonna lose all that footage because of whatever there was some kind of weirdness with that tape.
The film stock.
Yeah.
It was actual film reels. And at that time, I think in the 70s when they shot it, it was a newer type of film. They were segueing out of the old film. Before that, what was that called? The Technicolor was the highly flammable one. Anyway, you had another film type, the newer film type in the 70s, but it degraded. The actual film was degrading faster. So they had to rush and go back and make, copy negatives or back stuff
Imagine
up.
opening that thing up, it just disintegrates. You're like, gee, that's the master.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, like we lost it,
Well, that company called Vinegar Syndrome? It's Vinegar Syndrome is like one way that term is used is if you open up a film canister, if it smells like vinegar, it's a sign that the film is aging, and it's critical to transfer it, either digitize it or try to duplicate it.
I think the whole second season of Doctor Who from like the 60s, the second Doctor, I think they lost a lot of that footage for that very same reason.
Wow.
Like they weren't able to transfer it over. So, you got a large part of like history from a British sci-fi perspective that's kind of like just gone now.
Well,
and they couldn't get it back.
Would they have converted that to beta, like to actually play it on TV?
I think they basically said they lost it.
Oh man.
Because they wound up doing an animated version of one of the episodes. Somehow they still had the audio, but they didn't have the video anymore. So they did like a cartoon of it to kind of recreate it.
Yeah.
But
that's a shame.
Yeah.
The BBC, unfortunately, is known for, like, from what I understand, the entire Monty Python series was essentially taped over. Like, they were gonna, I think they recycled tapes in the BBC. Actually, I'm sorry, they weren't taped over. They were gonna be just erased and reused the entire season because they didn't think it was culturally important. I think might have been actually one of the Pythons that spent money and just said, let me buy the tapes. But that's the only reason they existed, is because someone stepped in and said, no, let me buy all these physical masters, not intellectual, but just the physical masters. And that's why. And then from there, they took all those Monty Python series, and someone decided that there'd be profit in it to bring them to America. So they transferred the entire... Actually, I think what happened... This is a weird story. Some obscure country said, we wanted the Monty Python series, and we'll pay to have it transcoded. And so they paid, and at the same time they did like an NTSC version so it could be in the United States. And then it went to the United States, it became this huge thing. But like, it almost would have... Its cultural significance would have been
Evaporated?
really minimized. Yeah. And a lot of the films that came out of the Monty Python films came out of the popularity of the reruns, So that was almost gone because BBC is so cheap.
Was it Terry Gilliam? Is it?
Yeah.
What's it?
Terry Gilliam, yeah.
Terry Gilliam. He did like Time Bandits and like
Fisher
Brazil.
King.
Didn't he do Brazil?
Yep, Brazil, Fisher King, yeah.
He probably was the impetus to be like, no, don't delete that. If it costs money. He seemed to be forward thinking.
Yeah, he may have
Did you
been,
ever watch like Wallace and Gromit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with a lot of the episodes from Wallace and Gromit.
Well, their studio burnt to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just there's a new one that came out on Netflix like 3-4 months ago. It's hilarious. It's fantastic. It's all plastic. Again, it's all there's a little more CGI now, definitely.
Okay.
Like they're definitely
a little assistance, yeah.
Yeah. But they still, I mean, the plasticine, it's like they're this big when they
are they?
Yeah, when they move them around. Their sets are enormous. I don't know if you've ever seen like clips from the documentaries they've done on those guys, like Aardman Studios.
I did Fisher Price Little People animation and I was just cutting, but there was at that time, an After Effects team that would remove metal rods, and apparently they used wax a lot on the figures to secure movements and stuff like that. And they would have to go in and remove the wax, So even back then they were using computers to, this is like early 2002 maybe. They were removing, using Adobe After Effects.
I'd love to see that timeline where they have all these like little mini masks to like fix the problem. Just to cover everything up.
They would complain and were like, this is so waxy. That was the...
At what point in the cut that you showed me, you were talking about editing some of your early stuff on the early versions of Adobe Premiere?
Yeah.
And I just burst out laughing because that sucker used to crash like every 15 minutes. I remember basically setting up stuff, and you would get it to render out, and you would leave because it would take all night. And you would get back in the morning, and you would pray that the machine didn't crash in the middle of the night, Especially if you had like projects or something like that, dude. It's just like, it really
the worst thing to wake up, you look at the screen, and it's like critical error at 11%. And you're like, shit.
I would have panic attacks, because we would have to render stuff overnight, and it would error out. Things wouldn't work. We would lose a lot of work. And I remember we ended up buying a tape backup machine that could, at the time, it could back up 15 gigs, which was unheard of. But on a tape, it was a special kind of tape, and it would take like hours and hours and hours. See, you would like plug it in overnight, and maybe it was done the next morning or the morning after that. But you're doing it because there was no alternative. The data was just too big, and people forget. Like when we started, we had a 9 gig SCSI drive. That was like a big deal, right?
Huge. Like, I'm never going to need more than 9 gigs.
9
like,
gigs.
That's just overkill. Like, why would someone need that much storage?
Wasn't Keanu Reeves' character in Johnny Mnemonic? His brain was like...
It's 80 gigs.
It was
80 gigs.
He had an 80 gig brain.
Yeah. Yeah, and they doubled it. They used some compression format, so you had 160 in there. Like, you're not going to survive if you don't get this out of your head in like 24 hours. And it's like, dude, that's nothing. I always joke around with Tom that in the mid-'80s, I got my first computer to do... It wasn't even digital audio recording. It was all MIDI-based for my music. So I had to have external devices, external synthesizers or rack mounts and stuff to trigger.
I was a digital performer dude, so...
Okay, awesome. So you're very familiar with it. You ever use Master Tracks? You familiar
yes,
with...
that was...
Okay.
Man, that's... Like,
dude, that's old, right? I'm right there with you, dude.
Jesus. I was like, I had to think for a second. I was like,
yeah. That I had gotten like a bootleg copy of that I only could run, I think, 8 or 16 tracks on it. And you get, the second you start pitch bending notes and stuff, you get this massive latency. So when you dump it out to audio, it's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I guess I can't have a sax line that goes and bends notes. Forget it. But my hard drive was 20 megs. 20 megabytes.
Wow.
20 megabytes, and that was 500 of the $1,000 machine. $500 of it was that storage.
For 20 megs?
For 20...
I remember talking to my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, that, I was buying a 500 gig drive for one of the earlier Macs that I had. And she looked at me and was like, that's just stupid. Just, like, there's no fucking reason you should have that much space. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I need it.
Yeah, 4 terabytes.
Yeah, right.
10.
Yeah.
1 terabyte flash drive, like those.
This is 5.
Yeah. It's going to be
slow,
petabytes at some point. It's going to be petabytes for us at some point, which I think is the next layer. Oh, yeah.
Haven't even taken it out the box.
18 in one spot. Wow.
Yeah.
I think this is a Western Digital too.
And it's all porn. It's all porn.
This is a Western Digital 2. The problem was my original thought. It's not, obviously. It's a HDD, not a solid state. It had this weird check like constantly like rechecking, and I was going to use that for all my software synths and have that as my master for that, and it kept like bugging out my Logic Pro, so I had to put all my VSTs on solid state drives, because for whatever reason it was creating this weird latency, and it was just bizarre. And I found that these SanDisk ones, these are like 2 megabits or 2 gigabit per second transfer rate. So, I mean, the port doesn't even support that. So,
Right.
But I was telling Tom, it's probably better to get a drive that has a better access speed than the port it's on. That way you're never maxing it out all the time. You know what I mean? And then, you're only using some of like 50, that's basically 50% of its capacity. So you're never tasking it. So it should last longer, I don't know.
Just for Christmas, I bought one of the new M4 Mac Minis. Like the top line one. Didn't max it out in terms of the storage, because I figured it's easier to get just external storage and get like a Thunderbolt, drive and hang it off the end. And I was just kind of shocked at like the transfer speeds that I'm getting kind of nerdy now, but the transfer speeds you have. Because I wanted to do more like 3D modeling and stuff like that, and some of those files are friggin' huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still haven't taken it out the box.
Well, I can tell you though, like as for video editing, as time has gone by, the type of compression they used to use with video, they're getting you're able to capture stuff with a lot more information now, and especially in the video format. But I can tell you right now, if Video Dreams is a 1 terabyte project. Like I looked at the folder with the project and the raw. It's over a terabyte, which is like, dude, I don't remember. I think that's the first 1 terabyte project, because even VHS2 was, maybe 3/4.
Was it 4K, 8K? What did you shoot it?
Well, in Video Dreams, it's a 4K timeline, and the master. I kicked out one master. I have to kick out a final master when the credits come in, when I get the end roll credits. Paul Polino's doing my end credits. And he did the intro graphic as well. That will...
Tell Paul I said what's up. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, yeah, I will. He'll love that. It's a 200 gig ProRes master. When I kick that, it's a 200 gig file.
Damn.
God damn, I don't know why. I got to look into that. It was a 4K Apple ProRes HQ, and the HQ, I think, is what really does it. Because I think when I did American Expendables was only 61 minutes. I think I did an Apple ProRes LT, because I was like, there's nothing in this project that's like super high fidelity. Like the best looking interview is the Lloyd interview.
And that's the most recent, right? That's the one that you did a couple years ago.
Yeah, and
you had a couple of them that were just really like some of the old footage when you guys were kids. It was like, I was like, what is it, 320 by like it
was so small, right? Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was fun to do, to have a little like text section, just to show people like in the 4K timeline. It was like a postage stamp, man. It was like this big.
I bet.
Yeah, there's no information there, and then but the very nature of how, I mean, not just how, but what you had at your disposal for editing, i.e., 2 devices. Every generation just loss to the point where
tons of quality
dramatically.
Dramatically.
I remember that, just being disappointed, because even the VCR to VCR editing, it would just look like shit.
See, I used to run to I hated Blockbuster. I used to go to Blockbuster and rent whatever new movie they had, and I had 2 VCRs, so I would bring it back to the house, pop it in, and make a copy of it. And then I had a little copyright breaker. I don't remember what it was called, but it would be, if the tape had like some type of copyright protection on it, it would circumvent that and would allow you to make a copy. And I just remember that I was always pissed off that the quality always dropped a touch from transfer to transfer, because I would make my copy and then my boys would come over, yo, let me get a copy of that, and they would make a copy, and it was just like, it looks like shit after a while.
Yeah, right. What would happen without the filter, without the copyright filter? Would it
would be like wavy lines.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It'd be like a wavy kind of like distortion. You could still watch it, but it was just really annoying because the screen is like shaking and stuff like that. So I forget what it was, and I picked it up from some dude downtown who worked in like one of these electronic stores, because I was always dealing with like pirates and stuff, like copyrighted stuff, and he was like, "This will break the protection. Don't worry about it." It was cool. I had one of those little boxes on my TV for years that gave me free closed circuit and cable.
Descrambler, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I was pissed off when they sent the magic bullet through and just fried it. Just
did that really happen? Yeah. I thought that was like an urban legend of the magic bullet.
They would send some type of like pulse through that would basically mess up the circuit.
No
so
kidding.
when I bought the second one, you would always disconnect it unless you were actively watching the TV.
Ah.
Wow.
And I would make sure, like, when there was like a big fight, like Holyfield and Tyson was one of the ones I had. I think that was right around the time right before I stopped watching it. I remember I would not connect it immediately as the fight started. I would connect it like maybe like half a minute into it. Yeah. So, because they would send it right before the match would start. You know what I mean? So
right.
I
time it right.
Because I wasn't paying $200. I was mad when I had to start actually paying for cable. As I get ready to switch cable providers yet again.
I had a friend in high school. We used to practice in his basement. He was a drummer, and you look at the ceiling, and there was a splitter. It was like the cable came into the house, and there was a splitter that went to like two or three additional places. Like, yeah, that's a $10,000 fine sitting right there. Because like back then, you had to pay for the extra every place that you had a cable. Like they wanted to bang you for each location that you're watching in. Now it's like whatever. Wire your house for whatever. It's one flat fee. Like, I mean, you're gonna police all. It's just ridiculous. The early stages of things.
They're talking about the rise of piracy. Piracy is coming back largely because of the fact that you have so many streaming services, and the content on the streaming services keeps changing. There was a time, like I went to look for, my son and I were looking for Wolverine versus the Hulk, and it's a Marvel project, so you figure it's going to be on Disney Plus.
Right.
We go on Disney Plus, and it's not there. You have to purchase it through like Amazon or somebody else. I'm like, why would they do that? And it's like, it's this constant recycling. So you have to keep ponying up money for Apple TV, Netflix, Paramount now.
Yeah.
Paramount got a ton of good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely won't do that. I mean, I personally won't pirate, but I just won't watch it.
You're a filmmaker.
Because I'm a filmmaker, and China stole all my film. There's like 4 films that I found evidence online, a picture of some of my old horror films with weird icons on. We never sold it to that territory.
Wow.
There's probably like 1 million people in China who've seen my films. I've never got paid. So
like Tom Seymour, you go over there, it's like, you're Tom Seymour.
Oh my God, yeah. But yeah.
Mid-level celebrity in China.
Very good filmmaker. Very good filmmaker.
No, I don't know. So what were we talking about?
Well, you know what else is happening with all those sites, too, is that now unless you pay an extra premium, all of them have some level of commercial at this point. And it's like, that's exactly why you got away from cable, was to get away from that.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some kind of reckoning at some point where people are going to be like, you know what, this is the same thing. Either we go back to this thing, but if cable goes away, now there's going to be somebody that's got the exclusivity online and it's going to be like, all right, I'm going to do 2 or 3 of these and that's it.
One of the issues is there's almost a total loss of faith in the quality of the programming. Mm-hmm. Like there's no reason for, like, I was interested. There's a movie that came out, it was like Brad Pitt and George Clooney, called Wolves. It's like, oh, that looks fun. It's not going to be great, but and
pirated it.
It's on Apple TV, and I just get angry. I'm like, F you, Apple TV. I will never ever subscribe to you. I refuse. I have no interest in it. So it's just like, that's fine. I'll never watch that. That's kind of, I don't mind paying like $5 for a movie on Prime. If it's some interesting independent film or a new release or something. Or if it's just out of the theater, like the Deadpool Wolverine, I was like, I'll pay for that.
It hurts. It hurts my soul when I do that. See, the thing also that pisses me off, like when you buy a program, a season, an episode on one of these platforms, you don't own it in perpetuity.
Nah.
If they remove it from their catalog, this is a product that you've purchased, no longer is yours. So I'm still, I'm one of the only people I know who still buys DVDs.
Yeah.
Or Tom used to, throw shade at me because he's like, DVDs, everything should be Blu-ray at this point.
No,
he's such a snob. He's such a snob. He's such a. But I have to have the physical media.
I'll definitely buy DVD if, like, I just bought.
No, you won't.
I bought To Live and Die in L.A. because
I
forever.
pulled out a DVD. Tom looked at me like I took a crap on the table.
Oh, that's an old movie.
Like, what is wrong with you? Just
DVD.
Peasants.
Laserdisc.
No, I said thank you, and then I made that face after. No, this is regular DVD just because the Blu-ray was absurd. It was like $30 or $40.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think this was used for like $8 or something. Yeah. And I plug it into my PS4. It looks gorgeous. I mean,
it upscales it?
Upscaling is absolutely beautiful. It's so I'm okay with DVD, but it's like the price point. You know what I mean? If I can get a deal, I'll do DVD.
Amazon, I'll buy something on Amazon typically if it's like under $10, because to me that's what I'm going to pay for it to rent anyway.
James is like,
and if he's like, no, absolutely not. But
if I don't get the physical disc, screw that. It's not happening.
James, did you see this?
I saw it was coming out. I was going to order my copy.
No, I think you got a copy coming. Pretty sure.
Oh, I got all the other ones here,
Cool. Yeah, I think
I gotta see how many are left.
I'm pretty sure that you got a copy coming at the end of the month. So
Tom and I have been keeping track on Vinegar Syndrome because, like, they might sell out. I think they're going to sell out of these things.
I think they could, yeah. In this, we were joking about this. The artist at ETR Media decided to do this action figure on the back, and he was just like, I don't know, I get this weird idea, and I was like, go for it, And he created this, and then, like a month or two after he did this, now everyone's doing like the AI action figure thing. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I wonder if this guy started the craze,
That'd be amazing. Yeah, there's about 600 left on that site. And Tom and I estimate they probably did a 2,000 run, one with the slip cover and 1,000 with the slip cover and one without. Yep. And that's a pretty good draw. I have an idea for your next project that you guys should work on. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I think that something that is interesting, and I think that it falls right in line with the previous projects that you did, but with a much different spin.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
So
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're thinking about the festival run sooner than later, right? Like as soon as we get a lock on the whole picture and the credits and everything, it's literally just a matter of getting that final, master, and then getting a compressed format version up on Film Freeway, and then
we're gonna go really hard on the festivals. Life's short. I cannot see doing a documentary that spans like this much time and is this meaningful to me, and I think I just got to go hard with the festivals on that. That's not to say, we won't do American Expendables 2 or some other fun thing, but like, I don't know, I'm like, I think now is the time. And it's funny, James, I know you're a huge fan of Robert Rodriguez, and just recently he did 2 huge interviews. He did a Joe Rogan interview, and he did who's the other guy, the Russian guy?
Yakov Smirnoff?
No, he's actually Ukrainian, and he does Lex Friedman.
He did. So Robert Rodriguez did a Lex Friedman interview and a Joe Rogan interview, and I was like, well, I'm gonna premiere the trailer right now because it like those two can move YouTube, and they can get in low budget independent film back in the zeitgeist, and there's no one better to do that than Robert Rodriguez. And I was like, well, I'm releasing it right now.
As I was watching parts of the one you're working on now, it kind of like brought to mind like watching Rebel or reading the book Rebel Without a Crew. That was Rodriguez's book, talking about his whole process of filmmaking and how he went from, and I thought there was definite similarities in terms of showing your development as a filmmaker, showing what inspired you, coming from like, suburbs of Connecticut, some goofy kids just basically trying to, put together something that was entertaining, and how it's basically spanned your entire life. And as you've, progressed and gotten much stronger over the years, I think it's kind of inspirational. And especially considering that it wasn't an easy pathway,
No.
And the challenges the challenges that you have with the older technology. It's much easier nowadays for filmmakers to put something together because it's all digital. You basically shoot something and you get an immediate response on how it looks. Like shooting on film, having to hope that you expose it right, then you developed it correctly. The whole issue with like actors and people, it was an interesting process for people considering this this is a profession or something that they may want to do in the future.
Well, Tom and I have talked about how Everything Moves Alone, which was shot on 16 millimeter, was a master class in crossing your fingers. And literally like it was literally a master class in that. It was like, oh my God, I hope this comes back okay. Because that's all we have and we can't go back.
Yeah. And some of it didn't come out. Like the lab at the time, I think it was the Boston Film Foundation. It was a nonprofit, and students would, I think, intern there. And I think we dropped off like 16 reels of film, 400-foot reels of film, And
how many minutes a piece was that?
12 minutes a piece, And so like we got back the first, and we didn't have a tape. We said, just dump it on, do you have high 8? I was like, yeah. The guy's like, yeah, I think I have a high 8. Yeah, we have a high 8 deck. Can you dump it on there? Probably back then they would have dumped it on something a little nicer, Beta SP or something like that. Maybe even Digibeta. I don't know if that was out yet. But so we got it back, and there was like entire reels that are dark. Definitely our fault. Like we had a used light meter. My dad taught me how to use it, but it was a still photography light meter. So you have to, the shutter, put it at 1/50th, put the film speed. So we were just like, can you just make reels 2 and 6 and 7? Can you lighten those up? Which is not usually there's different ways of developing. There's 1 light development, 3 light development. It means you put notes on that. A 3 light would be, you could break down every shot and they would lighten up shots. We didn't have money for any of that shit. So we just kind of like begged them like, yeah, can you just lighten these? That was like the vague, and the guy's like, yeah, all right. But that's the only reason we had a usable film, is the guy kind of took pity on us. I mean, it was a large part of the budget to have it developed and transferred, close to half. It was about $1,000 film. Good $3 or $4 grand was just the developing and dumping to tape, and then the other half was film stock, which $3 or $4 grand just on film stock. And
what
then
a different world.
Just crossing your fingers that
My God.
Yeah.
It's like playing the stock market. That's that's what it sounds like. It's just you just throwing, just gambling, throwing the dice on the table and hoping things turn out right.
And we lost. That one didn't go anywhere.
Oh yeah, after the New York thing, right? Like the
that's the thing, is like it was the biggest, like, I don't know how realistic it was. When we saw independent filmmakers, they were all young. So in the 90s, that Gen X, Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith, they were young. Even like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, even though that was a studio film, it was a major Miramax studio film.
Yeah, they're in their mid-20s.
They were all young. So it was like I was delusional, I was like, oh, I'll just do that. So
see, for me, it was the people that you mentioned. It was always for me. It was people of color. It was like Spike Lee, Matty Rich back in the day, who never did anything after it, or and Rodriguez, of course. Those were the people I kind of like.
Yeah,
like, oh, snap! You can really do this for cheap.
Yeah. Well, Spike Lee, he was generation older for me. So you had Linkletter, Spike Lee, Soderbergh, and that was then you.
I keep forgetting that there's at least 10 years between us.
Yeah.
Little less
you,
with me.
because you look we look the same age. Anyway, but the and then of course the 70s is the sort of Easy Rider thing, Dennis Hopper thing, and then the 60s John Cassavetes. So it goes back forever. But Spike
Melvin Van Peebles for me during the 60s
Yeah.
and 70s was Melvin Van Peebles.
exploitation.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Yeah.
Well,
So
Spike
it's-
Lee, the big one for Spike was Do the Right Thing, right? Is that what put him on
No,
or was it something before
She's Gotta
that?
Have It. She's Gotta Have It.
That was before?
Yeah, She's
Okay.
Gotta Have It was the first one that he came out with. I think he spent something like 200 on it,
Oh, wow.
and which was a lot, at the time. It's still a lot, excuse me. And he put a lot of that on credit cards and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then you had
He
Robert
was-
Rodriguez came out and he was like, I did mine for like 9,000.
Yeah,
And
but
everybody just lost their minds on that.
Spike Lee was the original dude who did the credit card thing, though, because a lot of you hear that Kevin Smith's, mentioned the credit card thing. Other film directors were, but if you look back, Spike Lee in particular, like, oh, that's the guy. I think because he did one. It was probably the film you're talking about. Because Do the Right Thing more expensive?
Oh, much more. Do the Right Thing
Okay.
was through the
Through a
film
studio?
studio. It wasn't really right.
Okay.
She's Gotta Have It was his first independent that he basically produced and everything, funded, shot, starred in, you name it. That was the first one for me that was like, oh snap, you can really do. And he gave a lot of inspiration to a lot of, black filmmakers, largely because of the fact that, Hollywood wasn't going to give us budgets to do stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, if you want to do some of this stuff, you really got to do this on your own.
And he was
And I
New
started
York
to-
based, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Spike Lee fan. I've seen him, and I think he can be kind of abrasive in some of his interviews. But I give him mad respect. He got huge cojones to basically put like 200,000 on credit cards back in the
Oh, yeah.
80s, and just
And had it, and had the talent, and had the confidence, and had it all. So
You
and-
think about inflation, that's $500,000. You know? That's
Yeah,
$500,000 today.
It's so rare. It's wildly rare. Soderbergh, I think, is similar. Did low budget. He did Sex Lies and videotape it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rare. There's not that many. That's why we're talking about these. It's not that there aren't hundreds of indie filmmakers, but the ones that pop out are so freaking rare. But yes, Spike Lee's one. Linkletter with Slacker. First time I saw Slacker, it had been out for a good 10 years, but I was able to rent it in the video store, which is again why video stores are so important. And it was just a guy walking around with a camera, I think he put it on the back of a pickup truck and would sit, and the truck would just move, and he would record these people walking and talking and stuff. And I remember seeing Slacker and be like, I can do that.
Makeshift dolly, basically.
Yeah. But he's a genius too,
I kind of laugh at Kevin Smith, the Clerks, the first movie, and it's always kind of like wrapped around like the video store. And I kind of laughed at like, the fact that it seems like a lot of like independent filmmakers, or some of the ones that I know, have had that common theme of like loving neighborhood video stores. And
Yeah.
just going there like hanging out, talking shit.
Yeah.
It was
And I think Clerks was one of his I know it's his first, but I honestly think it's still one of his best movies. It's
Yeah.
rough around the edges, but I think there's a humor to it that is even better than some of the stuff that he does now. And I don't know
think
whether
it's
it's
his
because yeah.
It's not unlike musicians. Their most authentic work is typically the stuff that comes out first. And I feel like the reason that is the case is because you don't see, it's the tip of the iceberg syndrome, right? There's all this other work going into the music that they made. And there's like that 10, 15 year, like in a lot of cases, sometimes it's right away, but most cases they've been grinding for years, several years. And then that first release they give, it's all their polished stuff. It's all the stuff that resonated, right? And then if they're good enough, if they're a Rolling Stones or, some band that's stood like a Rush or something that stood the decades or whatever, they can hang in there and they have a fan base that moves with them. But in a lot of cases, they kind of just peter out and dwindle because like all their stuff is right there, right there in the beginning.
Well,
And I often wonder, like, you get these auteur director, producers, writers, and you hold your fingers together and you're like, that's a really good story. I hope there's more in there because it was real. I resonated with it, like I hope it's better. I hope you have more stuff.
Do you draw any parallels between independent filmmakers and independent music producers in terms of like the challenges that they go through? And in terms of like, the independent music scene right now has had some challenges too. Breaking through, finding an audience. It seems that, I don't know if it's easier for musicians or more difficult.
Well, that's a complicated question. I'll try to answer it for you. My situation is very specific because I do royalty-free Creative Commons, right? So I've completely eliminated the paywall up front. But what that's done for me is more often than not, people are going to grab it and use it with things because they know they can do it without fear of reprisal, right? They're not going to get their content pulled down. They're not going to get some copyright flag and me squawking at them for some sync license or whatever. I mean, I do that kind of stuff too, but honestly, up front, if they're willing to give me the attribution and cross promote, I'm all over it. And so the challenge with me and the way that I do things is like, okay, yeah, it's up front. It's like, here you go. Please use it. You like it. It resonates with your project and it complements it sonically. I love it.
Do you allow remixing of it?
I allow you can remix it and you can move it around, but you can't publish it. So if you do publish it, it would require a co-pub with me. So if somebody takes a track and they decide to put vocals over the top of it and switch things around, and then they publish it through DistroKid or any one of those.
That's because I came out of that era when, once again, we stole everybody's stuff. We stole people's samples.
Right.
We cut it up, made, and put our own spin on it.
Yeah.
And people continued to do that until they started getting sued out of existence. And I'm just wondering, is that something that you are concerned about now? No,
not as much. My biggest concern is being able to perpetuate the distribution of music in the way that I do and finding a path to revenue with it that doesn't have my hand out to every creator up front. And so far I've found some paths that are working, and I'm getting ready to start like a big campaign of some ideas with this person I'm working with right now that is going to, 10, 20, 50x my efforts. And, it's an investment into these different ways to create these kind of revenue streams with it, but also staying true to the core, which is I follow in Kevin MacLeod's footsteps. I give it away, and all you have to do is give me attribution, or if you want an extended license, it's $30.
Gotcha.
That's it. And then you can use it for whatever the hell you want. But the bigger problem beyond all that is the challenge of the various platforms. Like recently, I just created a problem for a bunch of royalty-free composers because at least people in my circle, I've discovered that they've changed some kind of algorithm on there, and they're listening to previous podcast episodes for people, and they're just arbitrarily pulling these things down if they have people's music in it, and they don't have a license, and they have to prove they have a license. So they're messing with people's catalogs. It's a real problem, and that same thing spawns over into YouTube. YouTube just kind of takes at face value registration submissions without a lot of vetting in the process. So somebody could literally just start registering things on there, and then suddenly they're grabbing revenue from
they're
an artist.
saying, I take your song and I take a Tim Kulik song and I say, it's a Tom Seymour song, and I register it, and YouTube's like, okay.
Yeah, and they just start paying out on it. And so I had to make that decision a year and a half ago. I'm early enough in the stage of what I'm doing that I piggybacked off of another composer friend of mine that's been doing it about 4 or 5 years longer than me. He ran into serious problems of somebody hijacking his stuff because people they're opportunistic, right? They see somebody out there, there's a ton of stuff, and then they go in there and they look to see if it's registered. Oh, it's not registered? Okay. Well, maybe I can make some money off of this, for a little while until they do a cease and desist, and then what are they going to do, And it's just a Wild West. There needs to be, that's something I'm hoping to at least start the process of this year, which is find a path for standardizing that across not only YouTube, but all platforms like and try to guide my end users. Like, this is what you need to do. The best way to protect yourself is this. Well, you know.
So now I have 2 video ideas for you guys. I got 2 different topics for okay. We'll talk. We'll talk.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's you know, Tim's music is excellent, and you know, it's really I think stepped up my work. So American Expendables is 100% Tim Cooley tracks.
Me.
That was
Oh,
fun.
there might be a couple peppered in there.
No,
you know.
I don't.
You sure?
No, I don't. No, I think it's 100%. Video Dreams has a few Pond 5 tunes.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
the trailer has the 2 tunes I think that you picked from Pond 5, and the main title theme is great. That whoever the artist was that you got that from, it says the thing it's supposed to say. It's perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it just there's certain things I think it worked, but no, I mean the majority of music in Video Dreams is Tim's, but then in American Expendables. And I have to thank James Richardson for American Expendables. He didn't want to do it at first.
I know.
He didn't, because he watched the movies and he's like, although I love martial arts films, these are not the finest martial arts films.
I was going to also bring up the fact that the martial artist that you had in, was it London Betty?
Yeah.
He should have definitely been featured in American Expendables.
Karate Stan. Yeah.
Karate Stan.
Yep. Yeah. He was. I think he was emanating Parker. What's his name? Ken Parker.
Oh, Ed Parker.
Ed Parker. Yeah. No, but American Expendables is great. You pop in, you set up. I don't know if you realize what you did, but it's super important to the doc, because at a certain point we show Lloyd Kaufman. That's our best looking interview, so we show Lloyd. James does it from his podcast setup, so it looks right good. Now. But it looks good, but it's a little podcasty. But we had the 4K Blackmagic Lloyd interview in the front. Paul makes sexy credits, looks kind of legit. But then James comes in, and you bring in introduction of martial arts in the United States. So you bring in Bruce Lee, and then within a few sentences you link it to these other films that are just saying that he opened the corridor, other people to step in his place, you know. And it was like perfect. And then
That's
the
a
movie,
great tether.
It made sense. It made the movie make sense.
I recorded that at like 2 a.m. because I remember I had promised Tom I was going to send him something. And I got up. I was like, fuck, I got to do this. I don't want to do this. Those are shit movies. It's just like, he's going to be pissed off if I don't, I promise. So, man up and, So that's why I look kind of half drunk and like unshaven. And the thing was like, it was late night. It was like, oh, I'm glad it worked out. You cut it up very well because I sputtered and stammered through most of the takes that I sent you.
That's great.
He's a good filmmaker. He really is, Tim. He's a good filmmaker.
Yeah, agreed.
But now it worked, and I'm amazed.
Ask him to show you the raw cut of what I sent him. It was shit.
It's good.
Well, you're amongst the vast majority of interviewees or the industry in general, because what you see is, again, it's the most polished part of all the things, and there's very few of us out there that can speak so eloquently for, 5, 10, 20 minutes straight without, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. I certainly can't.
That's because I'm a college professor and I'm just used to pontificating for hours talking about absolutely nothing.
That's what that's the thing, is just get you to speak to what you like, and then it's all this amazing stuff comes out,
Yeah. Well, that's the easy, that makes it easy. When you know what you're talking about and there's something that you like, there is no hesitation. You're not searching for words because you have this giant library in your brain that says, oh yeah, you want to talk about X, you want to talk about cars. Right, there you go. You want to talk about RV life. Well, I don't think you're going to be short on any kind of narrative.
And that's the whole thing with like documentaries and finding good interview subjects is getting people to talk about stuff that, number one, that they, like you said, that they really enjoy and like, and that they're knowledgeable about. You know,
it's a subtle pivot to, because if I was just going to interview, I'm going to interview James about Tiger Claws 1 through 3 and TC 2000. Okay, that's a tough interview because you don't even like him that much.
That's right.
But if I just pivot a little bit, like let's talk about the impact of direct-to-video martial arts films, how they are introduced in the United States, and their effect on you and your martial arts career and all. then all of a sudden, it's like we got all this great stuff. But it's one little step, but it's weird. You don't always, that stuff doesn't always pop into your brain, So you get lucky when you see it.
When you gave me the movies to basically watch, you said watch them before So I sat down and I watched them. And the only reason I kind of powered through them was because I had a thing for Cynthia Rothrock when I was, just
it's great.
Cynthia's hot. And, the little pixie cut, the blonde pixie cut, she did it for me. Anyway, that was the best part of like watching the films. Because the acting was different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The martial arts,
kind.
Even the martial arts was, was decent.
Yeah, they're
but
okay.
Not the most spectacular in terms of the way it was filmed. But, it was fun after it was done because you can kind of compare that to some of the stuff that they're doing now. Mm-hmm. When you start looking at like some of the Hong Kong stuff, like I was big into like John Woo and like all of the, I can't forget Yu Ping and those dudes who basically did a lot of like the wire work and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing choreography, amazing,
Yeah, stuff with Jet Li, right? Fist of Legend and what was that one he did? Mask?
Black Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of Jackie Chan simply based on the fact that he does a lot of environmental stuff when he's fighting, which seems like just to give it authenticity in my mind's eye of how you would react in a fight. Not everything's going to be clean and pretty and nice. You grab whatever you can around you and try to defend yourself, right?
I just love the fact that he did all his own stunts. That they were in. You stop and think about some of the stuff that he did. It was insane.
Rumble in the Bronx. Rumble in the Bronx.
That was filmed in Toronto.
Looks like it looks like Toronto.
Running up that
Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver. Okay.
The parking garage.
Canada.
One take. Running up that parking garage and jumping across. Like that was all done in one take. He fired up, drank a bunch of coffee or whatever, and just did the jump. Broke his ankle.
He was like, "Let's break an ankle here." Let's break my ankle.
And last weekend we were in Vancouver. My wife and I went to Vancouver because she was running in some marathon. Anyway, and I remember as we're walking through this park in Vancouver, I'm just laughing, and I told her the story about how Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan came up, was filmed in Vancouver, and how brothers from the Bronx were pissed off as hell because they were like, "This ain't the Bronx.
Nah.
This looks nothing like the Bronx. There's no." I'm like looking for some land, some
Anything.
You think they would have done
landmark
B-roll or something,
Nothing.
right?
Nothing.
That was just I mean, it was on the tail end of the thing, using the Bronx, but there was a time where Bronx was synonymous with, like, post-apocalyptic, because it was there were the fires, and it was, I mean, the Bronx really, it was like, you might as well have been saying, like, Mad Max,
And, as someone who's bought a condo in the Bronx about 10 years ago, I remember telling this to people, and they were like, "Jesus Christ, why are you moving to the Bronx?" And I was just like, "Fuck you! You live in, you live in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Brownsville, People was getting murdered left and right in the '80s. Nobody went there. Don't give me no shit about the Bronx, man. Screw that.
No, Bronx is
I still rep the Bronx,
beautiful.
man. Fuck
yeah.
it. Now I'm pissed.
No, Bronx is awesome, man. There's some really nice areas there. It's like anything. Well, dude, I mean, you go up near the was it the Cloisters? It's like
that's on
world.
That's we're next to Van Cortlandt Park.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we're right off the Williams Bridge Oval, which is like it was perfect during the pandemic because when everyone was locked down, it's like I can't go anywhere; it's too crowded. We had this big park right in front of the house that we would just kind of like walk in, and there was nobody there. So
Perfect, yeah.
I was kind of, it's horrible to say, I was kind of living my best life during COVID. No people around. It was just me, my wife, and it was just
have parks
didn't
to
have to go
yourself.
into work. It was just fucking great, People talk about like I Am Legend and apocalyptic movies like that where like humanity is gone, and I'm just like, oh man, it just looks so peaceful.
No traffic? Really? Yeah, no traffic.
Zombies are slow as shit,
Damn,
just
man.
walk around.
Just move to Vermont. There's no one up. There's no one
I
up
have
there.
issues. I have issues.
Man, but I think that's all I got. You guys got anything else?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of bases. Was it
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
82?
watch. I'm gonna go watch Doctor Who
Nice.
in a minute.
Well, we should do this again. We should do this again. You know, we could either do it movie style, pick out a few movies, or whatever. We could just BS, but
No tiger claws. No more tiger claws.
Yeah. Well, Tom and I will tell you one of the things we have on the docket when we stop recording. Cause,
yeah. Could
Okay,
be good.
okay.
It could be
keep
good.
it under wraps until it's a
Gotcha.
real thing. But thanks, everybody, for stopping in, and we'll see you next time.